What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Ask Dan Anything. Today I've pulled a question from a introvert Facebook group that I'm part of. Particularly this one I think is for people with social anxiety as well, or social anxiety disorder. And I got a really interesting question came up in that group that I wanted to tackle because it's so many layers deep. Here's how it goes. Listen to this guy's story. I'm currently single but had a year of soul searching. At the moment, I've been thinking a lot about introvert relationships and whether, as an introvert, we should date an extrovert or not. My personal thinking on this is that I find it easier to go out to social events with an extrovert than two introverts, especially work functions or functions with people you don't know well. At the same time, when forced to go out with an extrovert friend, I'm sometimes so thankful because I end up having a great time and meeting awesome people. But if I have an introvert partner, that maybe wouldn't be the case and would just sit home 24/7. What do my fellow introverts think works better? Should introverts date introverts, or can an introvert-extrovert relationship be successful? Let's tackle the first things first. There's often this concept of an extrovert getting themselves a pet introvert. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not uncommon for some extroverts' best friends to be introverts, and you see them together and you're like, wow, they couldn't be more different. But there's something they give to each other that they just can't get from more similar people. You know, the extrovert finally gets to relax with a captive audience, and they don't have to compete, I guess. And the introvert gets to ease off the pressure knowing they're not going to have to do the work, sort of thing. And it's a very symbiotic relationship. But I've got a lot to say on this because this goes far beyond the question, should introverts and extroverts date each other? There's something deep going on here. First off is those two fucking labels, introvert and extrovert. Far too much of a deal has been made about this in the world of psychology, especially from the 80s and 90s, about these permanent labels of introvert and extrovert. What we have been seeing in the last 10 to 20 years is a flexibility coming up. Words like ambivert or the introverted extrovert. There is a range of behavior available to both of these personality kind of traits. And even if you use the old scientific kind of analysis of the big five personality traits, this is just one of the traits. So to say that you're an extrovert, for example, ignores four other traits which you can vary on wildly and can give you a lot of introverted behaviors. Rather than thinking I'm an introvert and I've got to base all my life decisions on that, think more, I have a tendency towards introversion when I'm under social pressure. That's all. It's not a fucking life sentence. It doesn't determine every single action you take. If you think back clearly and let go of your biases, you'll remember times where you behaved in a very extroverted way, especially if you felt safe around the people you're with. Just like every extrovert has that time where they just can't be fucked hanging out with anybody. We've all got this range. And the introvert label is just, it's more like a starting point. That's your tendency, that's your preference. It doesn't mean that's all you are. So ease up on that prison, alright? Because if you make decisions from that place, essentially you're making decisions from a fantasy, a fiction. You are your current behavior and nothing more. If your current behavior is extroverted, then you're extroverted right now. If it's introverted, then you're introverted right now. And that could change any second. That out of the way. I think the opposites attract thing has some merit to it. And what I mean by this is a lot of the successful relationships I've seen in my work have this kind of symbiosis where somebody's weak, the other person's strong, and vice versa. It isn't just one way, but both ways. So opposites attract is about having someone come into your life and both of you improve as a result of it. Not just one, but both. And both of you would have been fine without each other anyway. This is just like icing on the cake. Like, for example, I'm going to use my own relationship as a clear example of this. You know, everything I suck at, my girlfriend is awesome at. And vice versa. Okay? Now, I got along just fine without her. I was single for almost a whole decade, just playing around, having fun without her. I could have lived that way for the rest of my life and been just fine. But with her, I'm like at a new level now. I'm able to do so much more than I could on my own because I've got someone who can fill in the gaps, right? And it's likewise for her. She's been able to cope with some stuff that would usually crush her because of what my strengths are. both of us are operating in a higher plane because of being with each other, but we would have been fine without each other too. This wasn't somebody fixing the other person. I've also seen similarities really clash and struggle to connect. If you get two dominant personalities in a relationship constantly vying for leadership and control, there's often going to be a lot of conflict. It doesn't mean it can't be good. It could be a heated, exciting relationship. But in my experience, it's where the clashes happen that matter most. If you both hit on a topic that one of you needs to be the dominant one on, and neither of you will relent on that, there's going to be a problem. The problem also the other way around, if both of you are weak in an area where one of you needs to be strong in, there can be a big problem there. You can see this in parenting. If neither parent's going to be the disciplinarian, the kids run fucking amok. But if neither parent is the compassionate, caring, come and cry to me when you hurt your knee kind of parent, then you end up with a harsh, brutal parenting environment, you know. So sometimes people either need to learn a behavior to fill that gap in the relationship, or they need to pay attention to the fact that just because you're attracted to someone doesn't mean you're actually a good fit for a long-term partnership, right? I've talked about this a lot in videos, people confuse attraction with relationship. You can be attracted to all sorts of things that are terrible for a relationship. Okay, what you're looking for is the double hitter. You're attracted to them and you guys make a good partnership. Partnership is much more like a business partnership. This is something that has to last through the ups and downs of your connection with each other. It has to be able to last for a few weeks of maybe you losing attraction for each other, then getting it back. It can't be dependent on that. It needs to be more of a commitment and like an agreement that you guys are working towards. Speaking from my experience, you know, I am what you might say artistic creative. I can come up with things really quickly. I can speak my mind really off the top of my head. I can create and come up with ideas. But in that are also my weaknesses. I'm very disorganized and messy. I have too many ideas at once and struggle to follow through on any one of them. You know, and all of my strengths is a counter weakness, which I can survive with, but it really is a sort of scraping by. My girlfriend, very rational and organized. Okay. So she can get me focused like a fucking laser beam on one thing. And because I can do that, I can provide for both of us, you know. She might struggle to deal with some things that I find really easy to do, like confrontations. And so I can help her with those confrontations. We are both better because we bring our strengths to this thing and we cover each other. And I think we're incredibly lucky for that. The worst case scenario, and this is why I wanted to pick up on the question that was sent through here, don't look for someone to fucking fix you. And the way you worded this was this kind of like, I struggle socially, so I need to get me an extrovert so that socializing's better for me. It sounds like you want to use an extrovert. And that's got all kinds of problems. Okay, that kind of user, fill in the gap, fix me because I'm broken. As an introvert, you need to be able to socialize without them first. Okay, don't look for them to fix you. Be able to be ambivert. Learn how to bring out the extrovert inside you when it's needed. When you're confident that you can go socializing without needing to take someone with you and hold you by the hand, or you hide behind their skirt while they take care of you, when you can do it on your own, when you can approach strangers and initiate conversations and stand up for yourself and have a good time, then an extrovert's going to add even more to that. But you need to be able to hold your own. Do not look for someone to fix you. If you're looking for someone to fix you, stay single. You're not ready yet. My advice from all the relationship coaching and everything I've ever done, look to add value to someone who will add value in return. It's a really simple reciprocal thing. Give and receive in equal measures. If that's not happening in your relationships, if that's out of balance, if you're taking everything or they're taking everything from you, it either needs to be corrected or ended. And most of the time it just needs to be ended. Okay. So those are my thoughts. No particular point I'm trying to make, just what came up as I read that question. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you do, subscribe to the channel and check out our membership options below and send your questions through. I'll get you through the next one. Looks like my dog needs to go out. Cheers.